Engraving tumblers can be a daunting task and a little bit scary, but I promise you it's not as bad as you think. It took me 3 years to even get the rotary out of the box and muster up the courage to push go. Today I'm going to show you how to put a logo on a 30-ounce tumbler using xTool software, which is XCS or Creative Space, and we're going to engrave it with the F1. Let's go. When you order a MakerFlow tumbler, again this is the 30-ounce, this is what you're going to see. A color-coded box with a nice little window in it so you can see in. So if I had this engraved with something that I keep in stock or an inventory, then instead of writing on the box, I can look in the preview window and see that it's done. If we open this up, nice little cushion on top to keep it protected, as well as a plastic sleeve. So either before it's engraved or after, it has layers of protection. The coolest feature, in my opinion, and what kind of sets it apart from other tumblers that you can get is it has a twist-on lid. As a parent and a husband that has a wife that spills her coffee, it's nice to have a lid that actually twists on and off and is leak-proof, which I will show you later on in the video. It also comes with a straw and some care instructions. When you're selling to your client, it's nice to be able to throw this in there and they can read all the different instructions. That way I don't have to print anything extra and then add it in there. All right, before we throw it on the laser, I need to mark out a few things. So I have the lid on, and if I go right down the center of this lid, this is where I'm going to want the logo. So I want to make sure that I can mark out center. And now I can take this off. I do not need this until the end. Next, we need to find either the diameter of the top or the perimeter. I choose perimeter. I think it's a little easier. And pro tip, I like to put a little bit of tape on this seamstress tape measure because I can't stand this thing. So I like to tape it on there and then pull this baby tight. And it looks like we're looking at a perimeter of 309 millimeters. And I'm just going to go ahead and write that on there because we're going to need to plug that into our software. So now I need to also measure out and figure out where the center is between the top of the cup and where the taper starts. And for this, I'm going to use Imperial because, first of all, the tape measure that I have is terrible when it comes to reading metric, but also I'm from America and I know Imperial much, much better. So if I go from the top of the cup to where the taper starts, we are at, you can even take the tape off for this part. So from here to here is like 4 1/16. So half of 4 is 2. I'm gonna go right here. And I even put a little mark on my tape measure. That's why that's there. That way I know, because I use a lot of 30-ounce tumblers, and we're gonna go from there. So now let's head over to the software. Okay, I'm gonna try to explain this the best way that I can. Because in the software, the job origin is not directly centered, and I don't know how to change that, we need to do a little bit of measuring so that when you put the lid on, the center of the logo is in the center of the lid, whether you have it on the front or the back. And here we are in xTool's Creative Space, or XCS, and what we first need to do is change it from processing on the base plate to chuck, because that's what we're going to use. We're going to use the rotary. And another pro tip, if you're using a MacBook or a Mac, push Control on the keyboard and then scroll, and you can zoom in and out much faster than clicking down here. Next, I need to either enter in the diameter or the perimeter, and in this case, we did the perimeter, and it is 309 millimeters, which I have entered in there. And after this, I'm actually going to go up here into settings and change it over into Imperial because I understand what those mean a lot better. Next, I need to put in my graphic, which is right here, and we'll zoom in a little bit here. Now I have these grouped together, and before I change any of my settings, I want to get it centered, and I want to make sure that it's snapped to not only the center of left and right, but also that the top of it is also on the top. So as you can see, you can move it around and it'll snap into place There we go. You can also go up here with the alignment, and you want it to horizontal align center and align to the top. Perfect. Now, if I look here, I have a height of 5.071. That is not easily divisible, so I'm just going to make sure that these are locked. That way the aspect ratio stays the same, and I'm just going to make it 5. This is where it gets a little confusing. So when it's on the rotary, technically to me, this is going to be the bottom left, but in the software, it's actually the top left. Now, if it were registering off of the center origin, as I adjusted the height, it would scale itself a lot easier. But since that's not the case, we're just going to have to go with it here, and then just double check your alignment. See, it moved just a little bit, and I know it's aligned to the top. So now that I know that I have a height of 5 inches, I need to go back to the tumbler and go from the center mark that we made on the tumbler and measure each side 2.5 inches, because that's half of my height. All right, so now that we know that the height of the logo is 5 inches, I need to measure out from the center 2.5 inches on both sides. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to transfer this line down right there so I know where my center point is, and we're going to grab this little tape measure again, put it on there, and then I'll rotate this a little bit and go here. And then rotate it a little bit, which give me 5, and put a mark here. So the whole span of this logo should go from here to here. All right, so here is the xTool rotary, and you kind of have to rig it up a little bit, which is a little frustrating. But one thing that makes it a little bit easier are some of these 3D printed jigs, and this one is from my friend Ashley over at Chipped Builds, which I'll put her down below. She has a bunch of different jigs that you can use for the F1, and what this does is it goes in here, and then it just almost clicks into place. It's a very nice friction fit for the xTool rotary here for the F1. The downfall is not with her design, it's the design overall that I kind of have to rig this up. In a perfect world, you could take the normal base plate and put it directly under it, and it wouldn't do this. But that's not the case. So I have these really thin 3D printed, they go in a notebook, basic stencils, there you go. And what I'm going to do is I'm just kind of going to shim it until I get it nice and level. This is actually a piece of MDF that I cut out. And we're going to throw that there, throw that there. Now, that is a lot more secure. Another great tool that Ashley came up with is this rotary attachment that has the thread on it for the tumbler. So, if we just put this here, give it a nice little tighten, and we're going to then put it in the rotary, and then I'll tighten by hand. Then you can also grab the chuck to make sure that, I don't know who Chuck is, but he likes to tighten these things. And before I do anything, typically I will sit right where the camera is and I will rotate, and I will make sure that it is rotating perfectly square, which it looks like it is. So, where's my crosshairs? What I will try to do here is I will make sure that my 2 dots, which now we are focused, is right in the center of my crosshairs that I put on there, which go a little bit farther, right there, pretty close. So now that everything is lined up on the axes that I like, I'm going to put the level on here, and then we're going to use our little support roller. I'm going to raise it up just a bit, and as you can see, perfectly level. All right, I'm going to try to show this the best way I can since there's not much clearance here, but I have it focused on the crosshair that we put right in the middle of where we want the logo to be. So that is the middle of the logo. But if we rotate to where we drew our first line, which is right here, that's actually going to be our first starting point. So once it's there, I'm going to go push the frame tool and we'll watch it walk back and forth. There you go. And as you can see, once it got all the way over here, it actually was done framing on our line, which is exactly what we want. So let's rotate it back to here and get ready to watch it engrave. Okay, so the first pass took 10 minutes, and after I cleaned that, that would look pretty darn good. But I like to run through and do an infrared, since this has two lasers built into one, and that really seems to fine-tune a lot of the little details. So I'm going to push go and let that run again. Oh, and make sure you don't move or touch anything until you are certain that you are done. Otherwise, there's no way you're going to line it back up. All right, so now that that is done, let's take it off. And with the cool part about the jig there is I can just rotate it off. Good to go. And the way that I like to clean them is I will take just a magic eraser and get it nice and wet. And then go through here and scrape it all off. And there you go. There is the tumbler, nicely engraved. Now let's check to see if our alignment was correct. So if I put this on and I tighten it all the way, if I look straight down the middle of our logo here, it is directly with, in this case, the back. So if I'm holding it like this and taking a sip, everybody can see the logo. And if we wanted it to be in the front, there you go, right in the front. Perfect. But before this is completely done, I like to add my logo to the bottom. So let's do that next. All right, let's give it a little clean. It's about time for some new... There you go. Now, when you take a sip, like this, pinky up, you know who it's branded by.
I can tell you right now, that thing is not leak-proof. I'm gonna get in there and find out. Oh, he left it unlocked. Did somebody turn the lights off in here? Because it is dark. Let me go turn the lights on. Now, I can tell you right now, there is no way this thing is leak-proof. Oh, now that's a mighty ergonomical handle there. And some high-quality H2O. That'll do. Tighten this lid up. There's no way. No way. Oh, my Lanta. It's as dry as a popcorn fart. I'll be. That guy was really onto something. But I'm going to take this cup. I'll see you guys in the next one. Just got me a new cup. Think it'll look good down fishing by the river.
Hopefully this information gives you enough courage to throw a tumbler on the rotary and push go. I promise you, you're not going to make anything explode. But if you want to see just how powerful this little laser is, even for batch jobs, click on this video right here.